And so we ask ourselves, will our actions echo across the centuries?
I heard this really good boomer tier, like do you remember those email jokes where it'd be like this whole joke in your email, and then it'd be like, if you laugh, forward this to 10 people. So Joe Biden dies and goes to hell, and he meets the devil, and the devil says, well, there's no doubt you definitely belong here, but there's not enough rooms. Like, there's not a room for you, so we're going to have to send somebody away, but, just to keep it fair, I'm going to let you choose who goes. And he goes, okay. So he gets taken to 3 different doors, and he opens up the first door, and it's Barack Obama jumping off of a diving board into a pool. And then he gets back up, and he goes back up and does it again over and over and over. And Joe Biden goes, I don't think I could do this for eternity. So he opens up the second door, and it's, I don't know, George Bush just breaking rocks. Like, rocks are getting put in front of him. He breaks it, and another rock appears, and he just keeps hitting them. And Joe Biden goes, yeah, I definitely couldn't do this for eternity either. I got a bad shoulder. So he opens up the third door, and he sees Bill Clinton laying on the bed. Monica Lewinsky comes over and does what she did to get famous, and just keeps happening over and over. And Joe Biden goes, I think I could get used to that. He goes, I'm going to pick door number 3. And the devil goes, all right, Monica, you're out. Anyway, Jake from ISG, if you laughed at that, forward to 10 friends.
Yeah, I think I've only got 8. Maybe I can include you 2. What do you know? We're just
That's true. Now you have
only real American patriots would laugh at that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I was putting my son to sleep. And so, like any good father, as I'm trying to get my son to go to sleep, I'm scrolling on Reels, and I saw that one, so I thought it was kind of funny.
It's nice. That's real nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this job where I was working with this other dude, and we were just like the 2 of us for hours a day, and we were part of like a larger office, right? And so we were running jokes back and forth, but like, shit, all my jokes came from the locker room or the army, right? And he's playing like city league hockey, he's like a USPSA guy. So it's like all his jokes are from the range in the locker room. And it gets back to like most of the other folks that we tell a bunch of jokes when we're off doing this job that's kind of like outside of the main office. So we get back, and like our boss is like super Ned Flanders, right? He's like really like Andy Griffith style. And he was like, all right, guys, we're going to have a joke competition. And we got embarrassed because it was like it got to our turn, and we're looking at each other like, I don't got shit that I can tell in front of you. And then we went on a 2-year tear of just like the most groaning like 5-year-old jokes in the office to get everyone pissed off, to the point where the boss was like, guys, it's enough. We had to stop. It was fun.
Yeah, there's one of my buddies is a pilot. He's a Cobra pilot, and he was saying that they had a thing where before they would do a flight brief, everyone would come in and they'd make somebody crack a joke at their XO's expense. And they had like a couple of the new guys do it, and then the one guy made a joke. And it was just very raunchy. It's almost like an anti-joke that was just gross. And so they're like, all right, we're done doing this. We're not going to do this anymore.
It's like ruin it.
Yeah, there's definitely jokes that I like. I don't know. Sometimes I'll think about it. I'm like, what did I tell this in front of like friends and their wives? I'm like, yeah, probably not. I'm probably not going to say this.
Yeah,
I've been trying to make a point to be like less raunchy.
We always have a problem. People, when we come in from the field and we come into the office to like finish our paperwork and scan our notes and stuff like that, and you're like telling a joke outside in the truck, and you're like bringing it indoors, and then like you're in like a dead quiet office with like all these people, and you're yelling. Like you're yelling like really vulgar stuff.
Yeah, I remember that happened in high school one time. Somebody was telling something. So when I was in high school, my senior year, I had to take an art class because you have to have an art credit. And so a bunch of us were in the back, and my one friend was telling this thing because me and him had an English class together, and there was this girl that sat next to him or in front of him or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, you know, so and so from our English class." And this is right after spring break. I'm like, "Yeah," and then he goes on to tell me, a bunch of terrible things that she did over spring break. But he was like yelling because the art room was really big and it was just filled with a bunch of kids, so everyone's yelling. And so it's super loud, so he's yelling so we can all hear it. And then right as he starts talking, the whole room goes silent. And he's just like screaming like, all this nasty stuff. And our teacher just was, she hated us. She didn't like me because one time we had to draw a picture of like an animal. We could pick whatever animal we wanted. And I decided that I was going to try to draw a rainbow trout and make it as photorealistic as possible, or as good of a drawing as I could do as possible. And I suck at drawing, by the way. And then I was going to give it to my dad, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna work really hard on this. Like, I'm actually gonna give it a go. And so I tried to do it, and it's terrible. And the art teacher comes by, and she's like, kind of like giving me crap for it. And I'm like, well, look, like I'm not good at this, obviously. So that's probably why it sucks. And then after that, I was just like, you know what? Like, she wasn't being very helpful. I'm not going to get anywhere with this. I'm just not going to do anything. And so then I would just play little games on my phone and, dick around all class. And then one day she got really mad and she asked me what I planned on doing with my life. And I told her I definitely was going to be an art teacher. And I don't know why, but that made her even more. I ended up getting like a D in my art class too. It wasn't like I was just like a normal student. Like I wasn't anything spectacular, but senior year was kind of a blow off year. Like my senior math credit was like an architecture class and I just played Counter-Strike all year. And so I had pretty much all A's because the only real classes I had to take were like English. And then I had like a D in math and I was like, whatever.
I feel like that's my new dream job. I want to be an art teacher and just shit talk the kids at work.
Yeah, I mean that's
be snobby about it.
That's the secret. Just take your own problems out on all these kids that are just trying to draw because they're being forced to. But I don't know. Anyway, speaking of art projects, go ahead and explain who you are with ISG.
Man, I feel like I got to tell a story to get to it. So ISG, Integrated Skills Group, right? Starts off as a pet project. Aaron and Gino are the two guys. We'll get them on a later project. They really started. They meet doing some contract and security contracting, and this is back in the day of like the only social media really still being like Facebook groups. Like Twitter's not really big yet, that stuff. And kind of the whole blog got born out of the idea of they have some experience, and there's a bunch of people they're talking about that didn't have a lot of experience, and they got tired of retyping their arguments so many times that they're like, let's just start a website so I could start to link people to this stuff instead of re-explaining myself. And that was kind of the genesis of the site. But I got linked in with them because much of what they've got experience in, obviously both of them live in Florida now, so they've been through hurricanes galore, but they did a lot of contracting with security around like post-disaster environments, sort of austere environments. And I come from the National Guard side. I was a medic in the National Guard. And so I got to do, a couple hurricanes, a couple of floods. I did plenty of natural disaster stuff. It's kind of funny. Like how many times do you sign up to do a job in the military and you actually get to do exactly what's on the label? But I got to do what was on the label. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Did Iraq once, came back, and then I just did the actual National Guard thing the rest of the time afterwards, which is pretty nice. So once I found what they were writing, I jumped on with them. Aaron had really started working on this awesome rubric for like, dude, how do you even define what an emergency is and how you're supposed to respond to it? So he really started writing his book, Carry the Fire, and it's based on the core 4 that are kind of on our website, which is really like the meat of a lot of what the blog is creating rubrics for how to define what you're even in versus like a symmetric versus asymmetric versus like the classification of the emergency, how immediate it is versus the long-term effects of it, and where you might be in the sliding scale of any of it, right? So yeah, a car crash is an emergency, COVID's an emergency. How do you really call both of those an emergency in a way that they're so totally different in reality, even though they might share a lot in definition? That's really what the guys built, and I jumped on right around that because I mean, Gino's got a bunch of experience overseas. Aaron's got a bunch of experience. He was a combat meteorologist, which is an interesting job in and of itself. So he knows the weather really, really well. So we kind of came together and got started. People even behave, in like hurricanes, post tornadoes, floods, these kind of disasters that are hitting you just all of the time. And then those guys really come from the security and contracting side of what to do in a post-disaster environment. I jumped on with them probably 7 years ago now, and they had been doing this for like 8 or 10 years before I even jumped on. So really what we've kind of evolved to now, because Aaron put out the book, Carry the Fire, go buy the book. There's the plug there. If you need kind of like the Ranger's Handbook to how to even behave when natural disasters hit your area, right? That's kind of what that's supposed to be. So now we're at the point where it's like, well, we've had careers in this. We've spent years and years writing on the experience for it. Like, do we want to be just like like how many gun instructors are out there that teach for 25 years off of their 6 years of experience? And it's like, we didn't want to really be those guys. So now we're all jumping in different adventures, doing a ton of different stuff. Aaron's still working, Gina's still working. But we've really kind of moved heavily into the mobility space. So like my wage cuck career now is I buy cars for a living, basically. I'm like, I'm like 50,000 cars deep in terms of inspection and turnaround and reconditioning. So if it's on the road, short of exotics, like I'm not talking like Morgan three-wheelers and stuff like that, but man, you want to talk about the normal stuff everyone wants to know about, trucks or SUVs, all that. I've been in, out, bought, reconditioned, sold dozens and dozens and dozens. And so the other boys, they got Defender 90s they flip. Aaron's got a couple of Land Cruisers, a couple of Rovers. Gino's rolling around a GX. He's at Defenders. I'm rolling around a 2UZ now. Been in and out of a bunch of trucks. So we even before we decided that we wanted to focus on this, just kind of as a matter of living, have always had like vehicles capable of surviving like austere sort of environments, right? It's just been a passion. It's just like the guys we were that wanted to have that. And now I do professionally. And so, I got catalogs and catalogs of this and that, TSBs, what goes wrong with this and that, tons of data. And so we've really moved into this space now. And that's, that's kind of the peek behind the curtain, what we were talking about earlier this week. I'm like, hey man, let's get on the podcast and really talk about the realities of, what's your vehicle look like? What do you really need if you're serious about having a lifestyle where you got some capabilities, right? But you also got to reconcile that with, dude, I got car seats, right? I got to put dog food in the back. So I came here really to talk about, hey man, what's practical without getting to the point where you're going Mike Glover and you have another grown man build your rig and then you sink your Jeep in the first fucking video you make. Hashtag overland.
I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah. So, that's one of our favorite videos. It's like his first overland one. He's got that like super done up 5th gen, and he's got that Jeep, and they sink the Jeep in the first time he goes off road non-video. And he's like, well, guys, that's training. It's like, no, that's a skill issue, bud. But anyway.
Yeah.
Didn't the Spiritus guys build a overland rig too recently?
Probably.
I think
it's
there's a bunch of
it's gotten so big now that it's like, there's so many parallels to the gun space now where like I'm, the only social media I got is Instagram, right? So I roll through and I'm seeing all sorts of rigs done up to the nines. Seeing dudes with like basically trophy truck suspension running this and that. And it's gotten to the point now where it's like what people connote with overland is like almost more visual, right? It's like we joke all the time about like what's really different between like an AR-15, Mini 14, right? And to a normie, it's just the looks. And it's kind of become that to car guys, right? Where it's like, I've taken my 4Runner to the top of trails where I'm like, oh, I'm glad I had pretty good tires when I get to the top there. And some dudes like Subaru Legacy is there and it's missing the muffler. And it's like the old adage of everything's great off-road if you don't care enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to take my Subaru Outback out and like getting some pretty good stuff. I don't live anywhere where there's like, rock crawling or anything crazy like that. But there was stuff where everybody got stuck and I was one of them. And then there was times where nobody got stuck and I didn't either. And we still went through stuff that we all thought we were going to get stuck through. So, I mean, the Outback was a good rig. Plus, I didn't really care about it, so it was great.
That's the secret. That's the secret, man.
Honestly, I think that it is, especially like if you get to the point where you're kind of just like, oh, like for me, I have a Jeep Wrangler. I have a 2017 Wrangler, and it's paid off. So if something happens to it, like it's not like I'm worried about having to pay it off and then get something new. Like if I'm not going to completely blow it up because I still got to get to work. But if something were to happen, it's not as detrimental. So but I mean, that thing's been great for the last few years that I've had it.
Yeah, I'm doing this in the Front Range in the Rockies. So I'm in like the mecca of the metrosexual Tacoma, if you will. Yeah, man. Like it's almost like a meme. You go down 470 down the Front Range, and like you could count like how many lifted tacos, and you're like flannel, well kept beard, like Black Rifle Coffee sticker, and it's like you run down that highway for like 30 minutes, you're gonna hit 10 pretty fast.
How do people still unironically carry themselves that way at this point?
I mean, there's a lot of guys around the Denver area that like moved here from like Austin or LA, so it's like their first go around of like presenting like a man that's not a vegan. I don't know. there's a lot of like rough drafts of men walking around here. It's kind of a funny town.
I wish I talked to you before I bought my Silverado. Obviously, that would have been impossible, but man, I regret it every day. And then,
which one do you got?
It's the 2017 1500. It's the V8, but it's like the fake V8 that's also like a V6. I replaced the transmission. Well, the torque converter detonated at 115,000 miles and then killed the transmission.
Yeah, it's a Silverado thing. You don't have you don't have the 5.3 in it?
I don't know. Maybe I do. I think I have the 5.3.
I really don't mind the 5.3 because they've been making that drivetrain or iterations of that drivetrain for like 30 years now. So if you need junkyard parts, like you're a pick and
what
pull
else
guy,
did they make? They made the 5.3, and what other engines did they make?
I mean, they got, and I don't know if they started making the 2.7 turbo in that yet.
I definitely don't have that. I think I have the 5.3.
Yeah, they got rid of the 4.3 for the 6-cylinder for the 2.7 somewhere around that time frame. And then the 5.3's got like a HO, and then if you get the 6.2 when you get to like the high country and the high trims. But
I had a
6.2, yeah.
I had just replaced the transmission. I had that work done, and then I went to go see Tyler, and he's like, he's making me use my 4-wheel drive, which I didn't even need. Right? Technically, it was so easy those roads for him because he's so used to it, and I never get out like that
4-wheel drive. I was like, you're fine.
He's like,
you don't
drive. He's like, just drive through the woods, and I'm like, I never do that. But yeah, that was fun. It was fun to like kind of get out of my comfort zone, like just to know that to trust the equipment, you know.
Yeah, man. There's a ton of Silverados and a ton of stuff. The transmission is definitely the weak point on them, but like, I mean, I've bought tons of 5.3s, well over 250,000 miles, man. Tons and tons.
I put a billet torque converter in it, and I change the oil every like pretty regularly, like very regularly. So I'm hoping that'll be enough.
Change the oil like every 10,000.
That's that kind of I prepared like a couple of points that I knew I want to talk about. That kind of brings me to the first one, man. Is like I tell people all the time, just go boring, right? Like some dude will buy like a 5th gen 4Runner. Maybe they get something cool. They get like the TRD off-road. They get the TRD Pro. It's got the lockers. Got this. It's got all the stuff. And immediately they're looking at lights. They're looking at like a roof rack. They're looking at the lift. They're looking at this and that. And I tell people all the time, first off, like the number one upgrade you're ever going to make to any vehicle is your tires, first off. And then I tell them, like, man, if you're really serious about like being out where it's going to be, I don't know, like hot all of the fucking time, you're going to be really far away from repair areas, like worry about things like maybe consider like a radiator upgrade first. You're going to be going someplace you live in, like, I don't know, like Arizona, be camping out in the desert in the middle of summertime, like maybe think about like auxiliary transcooler. that kind of stuff. You'll hear Aaron and talk all the time. They say the greatest purchase they ever made for their vehicles was auxiliary fuel tanks, right?
Well, have you
And
seen like the UAZs, the Russian UAZ, where it's got the two tanks and you can flip the switch to go between them?
Yeah. So Aaron's Rover's got that. Maybe I'll give it to you guys. You put in a thumbnail somewhere. The three of us were down in Hurricane Milton last year, passing out gasoline around Tampa. That's what we do with our vacation time. Is we fucking crack beers
gas and then give it to other people.
Yeah, basically. Go do what FEMA wasn't there to fucking do in the first place. But we had gas loaded up the top of the entire rack of that. He's got a second gen Discovery that we're rolling around. He's got the ox fuel tank on that. And yeah, it kind of works like that. Like one tank gets low, you stop, you park, and then you flip a switch, and then the secondary tank fills the primary tank again. You watch the needle go up. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun to watch. To roll around like that and just not worry about gas, like you're rolling I-70 and you just got to make it through Kansas, and the gas station's just too far away to not have to worry about that. Feels like a quality of life difference. And in the back of the runner, and I live where people like to steal shit off of cars. And so my runner's set up that everything's internally mounted. Like I got my spare up underneath with the lock on it. Like my roadside kit's in there, the repair kit, like all my recovery stuff. I've gotten little totes and containers so you can't see them from the outside. And then they're netted in so they can't go anywhere. But the only thing that would tell you hey, maybe there's some nice shit in here is I got KO2s on it. Yeah. I got Pro Comp Steelies. But it's a fourth gen. It's a 2UZ fourth gen, so it doesn't look like anything special. And that's what I like about it, knowing that, and I got all the, stuff in there. Like my little kit's got the spare coils and plugs and belts and that kind of stuff. And then, I got my big jack, I got the boards, and all my ropes and recovery and whatnot. And then I got to try to find a way to get a hidden winch on there. I just got a really terrible little hand winch set up in the back because I don't have a winch up in front yet. And I want one that hides behind the bumper so it continues to look stealth like that. Because, there's a ton of built up everything, where I live, and people's gas cans are taken off all the time. People lose their little traction boards off the side all the time because, they leave it parked in their apartment. And then someone just walks around and goes, that looks pretty fucking neat. And, they've got a 1/2-inch socket just like you do. So they're like, I think I'm going to have that. And then they just take it.
Yeah, that's my favorite kind of builds is when people have what looks very unassuming or relatively stock. And then, they have everything there, and then they still have room for passengers and car seats and stuff like that. And I was trying to figure something out to put traction mats on the top of my roof, not on a net per se, but between, the roll cage and then the back, somewhere where I don't need to worry about it being covered with stuff, and another shelf. And I put it off for a while because I was thinking about selling the Jeep, and then now I'm I'm just going to keep it. So, obviously the spare tire is always on the back. That's normal. And then actually just this morning, I was talking to Joe about getting a bar for the front, like a push bar or bull bar, because what I was telling him is that, I drive like a normal Michigan driver where I'm 10 or 15 miles an hour over the speed limit all the time. And people will decide that they want to go 3 miles an hour faster than I am, or that they just can't handle having somebody in front of them. So they'll go around me just to go basically the same speed that I'm going, and then really close in front of me. So I'm not going to adjust my speed for them. So I think it'd be really funny if I had a bar to kind of light the fire under them to maybe speed up or get out of my way or something like that. Because this happens on the freeway all the time. I'll be going either in the middle lane or the left lane and going past people, and then some car will come up right on me, get around me, and then just hang out right in front of me. And it's well, why? There's a whole freeway here. Why don't you just go somewhere else? So
you should get the lumens, man. Get that police spotlight that you just wheel out there on the side and blast them.
That would be a good idea. There was one time where I was driving, and this guy came in this old, I think it was one of the old Blazers, an old Trailblazer that was lifted and everything. And he gets right behind me. And this is when I was in my Outback, and he's just, I think it was on the freeway. The speed limit was 70, and I was going 85 or 90. So I wasn't going slow at all. And this guy gets right on me, and he's just like flashing his lights at me. He could have easily gone around me, and he's like flashing his brights at me. And at that point, I decided like, well, I'm the one right here in the car with the gun, so I'm just gonna stand my ground. And he kept flashing his lights, and I get up and I get to the point where there's a car coming up in the lane next to me because I'm all the way in the left lane, and so I matched the speed of them. And then like I slowed down, I matched the speed, and then the guy definitely at that point, if he wanted to get around, he couldn't because there was only 2 lanes. And then I would speed up a little bit, and then he looked like he was getting hope to kind of squeeze through and shoot the gap. And I'd slow down a little bit, match the speed. And this guy just had his brights on the whole time, and they're right in the back window, and they were hitting my mirror and like blinding me. And I was just like, well, I'm too stubborn at this point to give up. So I let him go for a couple miles, and then eventually I went up and I let him get through, and it was pretty funny though.
You see that bumper sticker that says "honk twice if you want to see a cool gun"?
Yeah,
get you one of those.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I do really like that though. There's a guy who I like to watch his videos on YouTube. They're like camping videos. I think that his name is just like Jeep 4x4 or something. But he's a dude that lives in, I think he's Australian. Hold on, let me find him. Jeep, like Jeep off-road, or
I think I know who you're talking about.
He like goes camping with his dog, and he's got like a 2-door Wrangler.
I like to call those the drunk driving simulators. It's like the absolute playing the wheel. You're not entirely sure if you're going straight or not. It's like cocked 5 degrees to the left.
The other day, I was driving home, and a pretty good crosswind came through, and it woke me up. Oh, Go 4x4, that's his name. But yeah, he does like these. He doesn't talk or anything, so it's great. I mean, he's got like 1.7 million subscribers, so he's a bigger channel, but he just goes camping, and he's got his little 2-door Jeep, and he does have some stuff on the outside. Like he has a snorkel, and looks like he has a little roof rack and a rack on the back. But he could easily make it, aside from the snorkel, he could easily make it to where there's nothing on the outside of it. And he just goes to these little spots and sets up his campsite and hangs out. And it's very, very nice.
Vibe videos. The kind of stuff you like put out when you're trying to fall asleep. You're like, oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing, was that I used to watch them with my daughter because we didn't want to watch anything that was like high energy. So there's no talking, no like fast cuts or anything crazy, and it was just nice. And she liked it because there was a dog and a Jeep. But yeah, I do need to figure out something for like putting my mats in there, because that would be nice. And also taking into consideration after you use them and they're all muddy and wet and stuff, that you don't put them to just drip on all of your stuff.
Yeah, the quality of life items like really matter in that, dude. That's thing. You said yours is what, an or 2017?
Yeah, it was the last year for the JK.
Yeah, I feel like that's the oldest. I'm not. The new ones are fine. I got this article I wrote. It's on our Patreon. I called "Buy Old Shit and Keep It Nice." And it was after I was going through this diagnostic issues. I was working through a handful of Nissan Frontiers that I had bought and was reconditioning, and the whole sensor system would like damn near brick itself because the forward collision little sensor was out, and they were like $2,000 fixes each.
Yep,
it's like that sucks. And then there was a new tool for Mopar cars that was needed for diagnostics for a lot of the sensors items. And every time I bought one, like I couldn't just run it through, like, I work with, like, I got techs and all that stuff that are, on the same payroll that I am, right, that I work with. But we couldn't do any of the work because the diagnostic tool itself was like $150,000.
Oh, geez.
And so only the franchise dealers had them. So you're forking over cash to send it to them every single time, right? Kind of like that shit John Deere did, right? Where it's like you couldn't work on your own stuff, and then they got sued like hell. Like Mopar started trying to do the same thing. So like, shit, dude, mine's an 07. I think Gino's driving 07. I think Aaron's in an 02. And it's like everything that we need to do in our rides is like, yeah, cool. You got a socket set from like Home Depot, right? You got a couple of screwdrivers, a blowtorch, and like some patience and the willingness to bang your knuckles. And like, you're going to be able to do it with YouTube for the most part. Right. And it's, most of the parts, so many of the ones for my drive chain were made that it's like, I'll be able to pull a $50 alternator out of any pick and pull that I want to in a pinch. Or, I could go get the nice one from AutoZone for like $120 if I wanted to. But it's like the prices are lower. The user maintenance is a lot easier. They're not hiding like filters behind this and that. It's not like you need special wrenches. Like so many of the BMWs now, you need specialized like oil filter wrenches that cost you $150. Like old Toyota is so good that like in the skid plate, they've got like a little window. So when I pull out my oil drain plug, like the oil will go through that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take the whole skid plate off. I'm like, God, that is so fucking nice.
Yeah.
And so much of that stuff in terms of like the user maintainability has absolutely been lost as a value in the engineering of anything made in the last 5 to 10 years, depending on the manufacturer.
And that's part of the reason why I bought my Jeep was because originally, I was getting to the point where I needed to get something new, and my Outback was pretty much shot because I never did anything to it as far as like maintenance goes.
Did the head gaskets go?
I would just what's that?
Did the head gaskets go?
Well, actually, I did have to have the engine replaced at like 114,000 miles because the head cracked and the coolant would heat up, so it couldn't actually cool the engine. It would just overheat. So I had to go get that replaced, and so that kind of pissed me off. And at the time when I went to go buy it, this is 2017 because that was a 2012. I generally will buy like 5-year-old vehicles. It was between that and then it was like a 2009 I want to say Tacoma. So it was a couple of years older. I had a couple more miles on it. It had like a little over 100,000, and I didn't realize that some of the stuff that was in there was stock from the factory, but it looked like it was aftermarket stuff. So I was like, I'm going to stay away from it because I don't know if the guy did a good job or not. And then it did have an accident reported, but I mean, it drove fine. And I'd always think like, oh man, if I had just gotten that instead, then maybe I wouldn't have had to replace an engine or whatever. But I'm sure that there would have been some other problem that it had. But so I had to get a new vehicle, and I was looking around and I wanted to buy a truck, and this was 2022. And so all the trucks were way too expensive. Like Tacomas or F-150s or really anything. And so then I ended up getting a Jeep because I wanted a body on frame 4x4. And then I got a manual, and I got that partially because I just like driving it, but also because if you can take the doors off, and I don't want like the chance for somebody to steal the car, which I imagine that the anti-theft that's in those is actually pretty decent, but I just didn't want there to be a chance because there's not a good way to
manual is anti-theft in and of itself.
Exactly.
So few people drive that now. Exactly. Now I get that, dude. I was a motorsports guy for a year. Like I was autocrossing a couple of different cars I had, and rally crossed for a year. Like I was really into that. And there's just something about like, even if it's a boring ass car, if you get a clutch, there's something about a little bit more of that engagement on the daily drive that like, I don't know, there's more entertainment. There's like, it's like having a big fidget spinner every time you're driving. Basically.
Now there's times where I kind of wish that it was just an auto, but I don't really care.
Like when you're trying to drive home in a snowstorm in the middle of the night, and your boy's just chilling, looking at you.
Dude, we went up to the Upper Peninsula in Michigan and did like a little force on force thing. So we were coming back from that area, and the snow was coming down so hard. I mean, this was like March, I want to say, a couple of years ago. And so the snow was coming in so hard. And like I was trying to drive, you can only see, maybe 20 meters in front of you at most, like 20 feet.
At most, bro.
Dude, it was so bad. And I'm like trying to drive, and
it was like sheets. It was like in sheets, dude.
the snow is coming down so thick that like your eyes hurt from just trying to look forward and not hit something because
Like look for the road.
yeah, it was pitch black. I'm trying to see the lines in the road. The snow's coming in so thick. My eyes hurt. My head hurts, and it was like just the fastest drain of my battery possible. And so eventually we get to a point where we can stop, and I was like, all right, I'm hungry. Like I want to eat something and just take a break. So we ended up getting Taco Bell, and then I just pulled into a parking spot, had the heat going, and I just cranked the seat back, and
we passed out for like 40 minutes.
Yeah. And then I woke up and was like, all right, let's go. I did.
For those of you from Chicago listening, be like, I know the lake effect. Dude, when it comes off Superior, it's so fucking different.
Yeah, every time I ask him what the weather's going to be like when I get up there, he's like, bro, it beats me.
Yeah, because we're doing something not in the UP, but in next month. And he's like, well, what's the weather? And I'm like, well, it's either going to be like 30, 80 or snowy. I mean, there's no way to really know.
Dude, that stretch. We used to roll across the Grayling all the time across Mackinac. And like when you cut it in the summer, it's like, dude, I don't want anyone to know about the North Shore of Lake Michigan, like the White Sands, because I want it to stay cheap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I want it to stay uncrowded. Like it's such a best kept secret.
Especially when you roll that Copper Harbor area.
Oh yeah.
If you go to Copper Harbor, it's like a beautiful place.
But rolling across that, like just a hug in Michigan from like Escanaba all the way over to like Mackinac, God, the snow off of that is so terrible because it's just like fucking thick and wet like all of the time. You're like running in like tire ruts in the road from the car that passed in front of you like a minute before you. Basically, if you try to get out of that, it's just like Spin City.
Yeah, you feel your back end slide to the side a little bit like fishtail.
Yeah.
You make a mess in your pants, then you get back on track, and you're like, all right, it was fine.
Jake.
Yeah.
So what do we? So we were talking about this actually after the last little joint FTX, where how do you balance the desire for the reliable daily driver and also a technical? And we had come up. You can let us know your. I would like to know your opinion, obviously, because you would know about this.
Yeah.
But we've come up with the solution: is you have a daily driver, and you also have like a I don't want to curse, like a really beat up technical, like a beat up pickup truck that you can bolt stuff to and not be upset about it. Or
GeoTrack.
Yeah, like GeoTracker.
Dude, Suzuki Samurai would be primed for that.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Is this valid to just have a second truck that you use as like a shovel, or is there like a middle ground where you do both?
Yeah, man, it's like the old adage. Like I said earlier, it's like everything's great off road if you don't give a shit enough. I have done stuff. Done stuff in like my high school Chevy Cavalier that like I'm looking at the side of the road and like Audis and Subarus are fucking stuck. It's just because I was too dumb enough to know that the momentum I had to carry to get through was lethal to me, like the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But it's God, man, like, well, like, what are you trying to strap to? Or are you just trying to do like the fucking cargo up armor? Like you just got nothing but ammo cans in the back.
Like we were just talking about how to feasibly transport guys around, and also be able to like get in and out and kind of be like not so overt at the same time. And it's not an easy combination.
You find an old K5 Blazer that's got the safari seats in the back, so they fold down sideways, right? So it's like you're sitting in the back of like the high top Hummers, right? They had those like really shitty wood benches where your knees are all facing each other in the center. You find an old K5 Blazer, they got seats like that. The only thing else I can think of that's got seats like that is like you start getting like 70 series Land Cruisers.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like the old Toyotas like that.
Well, then we were talking about those soft. They're like caps, like those that you can kind of you can like you can be in the bed of the pickup truck, and then once you're done playing in the bed, you can just like roll it down and button it up, and you're just like a truck now.
Well, you can roll up the sides, so you can have cover from rain and still see out the side. You can just sling the whole thing forward, so that way it's completely uncovered, or you can keep it down and then nobody knows that you're back there. Dude, it's peak.
Yeah,
I love it.
I want one for my truck, but I feel like it wouldn't look great. It's just I feel like it's not like it's not, it's like a boat. That's
the equivalent of you.
My truck's like a boat. It's not like a sporty trail truck.
So it doesn't need to be, dude. We used to I used to work a construction job, and the guy that owned the company had a Nissan Titan.
Yeah, but those are like,
dude, they're full-size trucks.
Yeah, but those things are like a Nissan Titan is like a in like other countries, they like that thing's badass.
Okay, have you ever seen there's the page Silverados of War, dude?
The only guy I know that's had really good experiences with is literally a mechanic. So like,
yeah, I need like
I don't know that I'd put a family on Nissan willingly. Dude, the Silverado do tons of shit, man. You just get the right tires on that.
I'm gonna rent something for this trip up there, and I'll get the insurance policy on it.
Oh, dude, just get a soft topper instead and pull up.
I do want one.
I will say that I think you did the right thing going full size truck. So, part of the perk of the job, right? I get to jump in a different ride from the lot every 30 days or so. So I'm always in a new whip. It's like a funny like joke in my apartment complex, right? But all of the small trucks I've done, I've been in a Maverick, the Ranger, the Tacoma, the Frontier, the Colorados, yes, the LT, all the way up to like the ZR2. I've done the little SR5s. I've done all the way up to the big Terrier, like literally all of them. Not only have I bought and sold dozens of them, like I've lived in for 30 days. And my whole thing when it comes to the mid-sized truck is like, it's like the idea is like you're trying to hybridize, but I find that it's really only ever the compromises. Like, okay, I'm not really going to get like the towing and load capacity of a 1500, but I'm also not going to get the gas mileage of a unibody SUV. And I'm also not going to get the comfort of a unibody SUV, but I'm also not going to get the ride height of a truck. It's like, hey, I'm going to piss off so many people, but I've written whole diatribes in our Patreon shit about how much I think the small truck thing is like solving a problem that nobody really has. And I think that if you're going to go with the truck, like you should just get a 1500, get an actual full-size truck. So
I always say like if I
got it,
I always say like I would have a smaller truck. Like if I was a smaller guy, like if I was like a Japanese dude or just like someone from like Ecuador, I would be happy to have those little trucks because I think they're handy. But like I'm like 6'3", 6'4", so
well, I think that's the biggest thing about it is that if you get a truck and you intend on doing truck things with it regularly, you have to get a full size. Because if you have a mid-sized truck, like you have a like you said, a Ranger or a Frontier or a Tacoma or whatever, Colorado, you start to get a lot of the problems of it's like, because especially the Tacomas are really bad with this, where guys will be like, oh, I'm going to go to the beach with my family, so I need to strap 40,000 things to the outside of it. And so it's like, well, all that stuff takes up weight, and then your passengers take up weight, and there's still really not like a whole lot of room inside of those, to be honest. And then like they're handy on the trail, of course. That's kind of like the best part about them, and that they're like in traffic, and if you need to go to the city and have some strange parking, they're nice for that versus a full size truck. But as soon as you actually intend on doing truck things with it, you're just going to wear it out really bad. And then you start getting into like safety issues because it's not rated to carry as much weight as you're trying to strap to it. And that stuff. So,
dude, what I didn't, how you were just talking about how like, when you were younger, you just like didn't know, like you got away with a lot of stuff because you just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So I had my second car was like a 2002 Mercedes ML320.
Nice. The Jurassic Park 2 car.
Yeah, exactly. And I got it with like 120,000 miles on it, and I put another 150,000 miles on it myself. I got that thing up to almost 300,000 miles. And anyway, I was just like a young jerk, so I didn't really care. Like I didn't understand really. I worked like around the block from my house, so I didn't really understand the importance of having a reliable vehicle at the time, and what a great vehicle that was. And it lasted that long in spite of what I did to it. But but as you could, like, like I heard someone say somewhere, like, how people say like, oh, that car, you can do this with it, like just like a saying.
Mhm.
Well, I heard someone say you can drive like 30 miles an hour through 30 inches of water with it. And I was just like, and we had a hurricane where I lived, and there was like a huge amount of water. Anyway, I just sent my truck into this this basically pond, and dude, there was water like up to my mirrors almost, and I coasted right through it. But anyway, what I meant to say was, so I took this thing to the beach. I was trying to impress somebody, and people say, oh, I'm going to the beach. You said I'm going to the beach with my family or whatever. I need to strap a bunch of crap to my car. Mm-hmm. And this was before I really cared about preparedness things and whatever. The only thing I had in my truck besides like cigarette lighters was a flashlight. And I ended up digging out my ML with a those big mag lights with like the big D batteries.
Hell yeah.
So I dug out my truck from the sand with this mag light as a shovel. I still have the mag light. You have to, like in horror games where you're like, you have a flashlight, you have to hit the flashlight to like turn it back on. Tyler, I'll show it to you when I see you. But that's how it still doesn't work right because of that. But awesome. It's the LED one, so it's pretty good. But yeah, like that's what I like about stuff. I think like your capability has a lot to do with your mindset. And the fact was I was young and stupid and I got away with a lot of cool stuff. But now I feel like I'm much more risk adverse because I'm like, dude, I have to get to work. Like I can't. That's what I was saying to Tyler about my truck. I was like, dude, back in the day I would be blasting these trails, but
dude, we were
I'm like, I still got to drive
roads. It's like,
I still have to drive home. And then, these roads were like nothing. They were like,
could have driven down that stuff in a Challenger.
They were just dirt roads. Yeah.
There is something to be said about the peace of mind that comes with the overkill. Cause like, dude, the lift, the tires, the shit that I got in the 4Runner, like I'm maybe at the worst getting to like really like 60% of the capability of that thing. But it's like, I can do all that kind of like, I don't know, at ease, like enjoying the drive and not fretting by like, oh shit, this stuff's gonna break. That's like the same thing with like why I like the full size truck. Yeah, you're gonna tow, but like, wouldn't you rather have like the full size transmission and engine and the cooling that comes with that? So like, I don't know, your towing capacity says 7,500, and you're towing 7,000 pounds, and then suddenly you hit the I-70 pass to the mountains, and your shit's just screaming at you. It's like there is something to be said for like having just a little bit more than you think you're going to need, if only for the peace of mind of it. But it's so much of it is the skill, dude. Like I wouldn't know half the things about off-roading I know if it wasn't for just being like a dipshit specialist. And like, we just ran the trucks off of the icy road at Fort McCoy and we just like knew it was going to be a shitstorm if we had to call to get them unstuck. So we just found a way to get them unstuck. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, thank God, because like Humvees don't stick themselves if you're slightly above room temperature and an IQ, But
so are those good vehicles or not?
Dude, the Humvee, the more I learned about them, the more I started to respect them, right? Because like when I'm just running around the trucks, and by the time I got my rocker, dude, I'm running a battalion aid station, so it's just like I'm living FLA life. I'm not even really thinking about it too hard, right? But a guy that I work with used to be a light wheel mechanic, and you learn weird stuff like the rotors on Humvees are underneath the body by the drive shaft. So it's like,
oh yeah, I've heard this. They're like way underneath,
and you got to have it like that because they have portal axles on them, so you can get that extra bit of ground clearance, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's like when you get like a brand new, like totally light Humvee, nothing in it, you can nose that thing up to a wall and damn near climb the wall. Wow. It's because of the gearing that you have in those. And so the more I learn about it, the more I was like, damn, I should have just respected these things while I was just like fucking ripping farts and eating like combos in the back of these things.
I think that the worst part about the Humvee is just riding them. Like they're really capable and they're pretty powerful, like all in all. And I think that they're a good vehicle for the military to use. But as soon as you ride in one for more than like 15 minutes, you're like, yeah, this sucks.
Oh, dude. Especially if you're TC and you've got like a JLBC in front of you taking up all your room.
Dude, whenever I see the convoys on the highway and I see like these army guys with like, they have to like wear their helmets with their chin straps and their plate carriers and stuff. They're driving like 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It just looks so sad.
Well, that's I think that we were talking about this before with the amphibious assault vehicles. And like, they're tracked, so you feel everything. And then were we talking about this last episode with the AAVs?
I think we talked about them with Brent.
Maybe. There's like black black smoke spewing out of the engine bay because it's inside. And
yeah, that was that was when we had Brent on.
Yeah. So these things are just screaming. You feel every bump, and you look outside, and you're like, "Oh, we're actually only going 35 miles an hour. Sweet."
Yeah, was that you or Brent? Where you were like, they were like, "Why is there like so much black smoke?" And
yeah, that was
someone
me.
was like, "Wasn't it just supposed to do that?"
Yeah, that was
no.
me, dude. we got done with this whole mechanized assault. We were driving through the desert for hours, literally all day. And the AAVs were buddy rushing too, so they're like flooring it and then stopping, and then flooring it and stopping. And you're just in the back getting thrown around. And we get done. We get to like our defensive position, and we all go to get out. And the vehicle commander gets down. He's like some sergeant. And he looks, and he sees just the black smoke plastered around the engine bay. And because there's like a thin piece of sheet metal that goes in front of the engine, and they can take it off pretty easily and work on it. And he points to it and he goes, "How come nobody said anything about this?" And all of us look at him because we just thought that was normal. And he goes, "No, it's not normal. You should have said something." We're like, "Oh, sorry, dude. We'll let you know next time." And he just shook his head and we just walked out.
Did you guys ever get in like those Rhino MRAPs?
No, I've never been in an MRAP.
Those are terrible. They used to be what shuttle us back and forth between the VBZ and the green zone.
I've been in like 7 tons, if that's like the similar.
No, it's like, so because it's got the V-shaped hole on it, right? Like the floor raises up. So the ones that I don't know if they've changed them, because I believe we were in the Rhinos. The floor is like 8 inches from where your butt sits on the seat.
Oh, geez.
And so you're sitting in your full kit with your knees up, like parallel with your chin, damn near the whole time you're in them, and then shuffling around. Those things are the absolute worst. Because like shit, if I did get hit, like all of this force is going directly into my fucking coccyx.
Yeah,
it's not going to be fun.
The USSV Rhino. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, let me look it up.
It looks like a souped up Suburban. U.S. Specialty Vehicles Rhino?
No, that wasn't it.
Have you ever seen the G-Wagons that
love the G-Wagon, dude.
Like Ford Observers used to use?
Back in the day.
It was like early, mid-2000s that they would even use them still as like scout vehicles to go find OPs.
Yeah, I would love a G-Wagon one day. Not like the
not
like the rapper ones, but like a real stripped down G-Wagon.
Like the actual military G-Wagons are so cool in my opinion.
So yeah, dude, that's if I was gonna have like a novelty vehicle, it would be that, and it wouldn't even be like a novelty, honestly. But it would. But you know what I mean.
Those things
I just love
like
Mercedes trucks are, especially like that year, like the year, like the early 2000s was like a phenomenon, bro. I can't explain to you how much I abuse this vehicle, and it just like I had it crushed because like out of respect, because like I refused to let someone buy it for because you know how somebody's gonna buy a car for $2,000 and they're gonna treat it like a $2,000 car, and especially where I lived, so I just had it crushed, and I just let it, had to shoot it out back basically. Dude, it still had life in it, but I just had to get rid of it. It was like rotted out because it was like northeast, just everything was just rotten. I'm sure you guys have that issue up north too.
Oh, dude, tons. I really didn't intend that to be like a point of this, but that might be like the unintended point that we're arriving on with this is like, don't
live where they salt the roads.
Well, but like treating your stuff too precious, like like it's not a car story, but like I played guitar for a long time, right? Nice. And I was playing in, these fucking shitty college bands, like we all do. And I saved up a bunch of money and I bought this Les Paul traditional with like the carved top, the whole thing. It's like a $2,000 guitar. I think I only had like $1,200. I like financed the other $800. That's where I was at the time,
before paying for it too. So that's like a big deal.
I think I got like a Guitar Center card to get the rest of it. And like my other one is I had this shit beat up like Les Paul special, or not special, but the studio that I bought and I repaired the headstock on because I bought it broken for like $200, and I had some shit old Telecaster. And then it was supposed to be like, okay, I'm going to use this for everything. I never took it to practice because I didn't want it to get dinged up or broken. Like I never took it to shows because I didn't want it to get stolen, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking of like selling it and feeling like free of the fucking thing because like I would take my other beat up guitars everywhere and I would just have a ball with them because I wouldn't think twice about like, yeah, dude, you could drop it, splash beer on it, like whatever. That thing's a tool.
Yeah,
and that's what a lot of the rigs that we're running kind of are. It's like, yeah, man, they're 20, 30 years old at this point. And like, we're keeping them nice. We do all the maintenance. We've upgraded like, the cooling and the brakes and the tires. I've got a bunch of spare parts. I got a spare alternator just sitting in my closet because it was on eBay for $40. And I was like, dude, just may as well have it, right? I'm going to need it at some point. And like I'll roll that rig around just because it's like, well, at some point, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, dude. I bought the car I bought the ride for like $10,000. I put like $4,000 in maintenance into parts in it. And now it's like worth, I don't know, not $10,000, but it's, I'll have it for the next 100,000 miles. It's got life on it. And it's, I'm not overly worried about things like scratches, this and that. Cause the bumpers are already scuffed up. I got big scratches down the side anyway. It got hailed on like 3 years ago. So like, if you look for it, you could see a little bit of hail damage. And now it's like, well, fuck it, man. Like I just get to actually like treat this thing like the tool it is.
Yeah. Perhaps that's like when you kind of jack up your gun, when you go to like when you get to like really go out in the field and use it, and you're like, it's kind of like, it gets grimy and it feels good that you can just, it's not ever going to be pretty anymore.
Yeah.
Take it out of the safe and throw it directly into the mud.
What are those big like German trucks that you can buy, like military vehicles? Like they're not American. They're like from like the 80s or 90s. They're huge and they're like troop carriers and things like that. But they're not like they're like for the woods. You know what I mean? They're not like big like 18-wheeler looking things.
Dude, have you ever seen those like
Unimog or something?
Oh, the Unimogs are Russian.
Yeah.
Oh, they're Russian. Okay.
Yeah, the Unimogs are Russian.
So we had
Mercedes makes them, so maybe that's why you were thinking of that.
That's probably what I was. Yeah, I was thinking about like how like you have something like it's nice, you know what I mean? But then like you make it too nice, and it's like so like we were doing a training event in the winter, and there was tons of snow, tons and tons of snow. So they're like, we'll insert you guys with the Unimog. So we're like, sick. So we're like busting through like pine trees, like real pine trees just covered in snow. We're getting like, and we're in the back, so we're getting like covered. We're getting whipped with pine boughs with snow on them. And anyway, so the guy had just like redid his Unimog. He beautifully restored, like everything is original. This, that, the other thing, right?
For restored a Unimog, and you guys are piling over pine trees with it.
And what he did was I don't know if he should have done this or not, but the floor and the benches are wood, and he lacquered them like a boat.
Oh, that's so cool.
So we got all this snow on the deck and on the seat and all this, and then he starts kind of going a little bit faster, and we're all starting to start heading for the rear end of this truck because of the forces. Like there's no traction, like our feet on the lacquer with the snow, and we're like getting like almost we're like holding on for our lives so we don't get flung out of the back of this truck. But yeah, I feel like at that point, like it was super cool, but then it sucked because like it was like nice, but it was too nice. You know what I mean? We're in like lacquered wood seats, and I'm like,
I need to put wood paneling in the Jeep.
You need to do the what is it? The rear seat fiberglass delete kit or whatever. We were getting crazy with that one.
I remember I went to do like the training they do in Hohenfels, And while I was there, there was met these.
We got to get all the Hohenfels guys to come and talk about it. There's like 4 of you now.
Really? Yeah, we all
Yep.
stayed in those barracks where the kitchens and the bathrooms drained out of or they vented out of the same vent, so that smelled like each other. You remember those? Yeah. But I remember running into a German medic there, and they had their like military ambulance. Right? I'm so used to the FLAs. I spoke English, so I'm checking it out, and they open up the back of the thing, and they got like a full gurney. They got like EKG machines in the back of that thing. Like it's like well lit. It's like
I had like a cigarette vending machine back there too.
And I remember like going through and they were showing us all the stuff and they were like, "You guys don't have this?" I'm like, "Fuck no, we don't have
You
this."
guys don't have
Like
this.
our shit's up on straps. And I was like, how many patients do you carry in this thing? They're like, "Max." They're like, "Yo, 2." And I was like, "Oh, that's not gonna work." They're like, "How many are you supposed to carry?" I'm like, 4, but we get 8 if we try really hard.
Wow.
And they're like, "Oh." But it's like this stuff was like super nice, but the more I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, man, like I could see why like being too nice almost like gets in the way. Like how much money went into over engineering this thing, and then someone's got to live out of operating this thing for like 6 months, and like it's just going to be a pain in the ass. It's like a huge part of like running the medical platoon was how much of that stuff needed to be sent in for calibration every year, like our ventilators, even the suction machines. It was the worst. Like all that kind of stuff that you need for like a battalion aid station, you had to send it in annually for calibration. It was awful. And I could just imagine for all the stuff that you already had to do with Humvees, like sending them in to get refitted or checked out, like to add that to it. It's like, how can these things ever be operational? So it's like, like you shit on them at the time because you're like, oh, this sucks. But it's like, being dumb was kind of nice because at least we had it and we could make it work.
Yeah, I think there's like a Geo has been to Hohenfeld's. You, Tristan, Tyler. I think Tristan was talking about Hohenfeld's, right?
I think so.
And Tyler from Life Fighters. So apparently, you guys always talk fondly about it. You're always like, "Oh, this is Hohenfeld's."
I got to be op for us. It was like a camping trip. That's what was nice about it.
I think Geo did op for there as well.
Yeah, they just give you an M113 and they kick you out all week with like water and MREs, and they're like, "Have fun."
That sounds
like you're just sitting there as a target with Miles gear on you, and then someone comes over the radio and is like, "They found you and you're dead," and you're like, "Okay." You drive back to the reset area.
That sounds like fun.
Mercedes M113.
Yeah, it was good. Like we just wore like jeans and like pullovers. We like didn't shave the whole time. Like it was good. And then on the weekends you have to go out to like went to like Regensburg and Parsberg. And
what country where is that?
Germany.
In Germany, right? Okay.
And we got to go to Munich, which was fucked up because the commander at the time was like, "You guys are going to get culturally enriched." So like we're all like 20, 21, like ready to go in there and just like drink like crazy. And he made us all go through Dachau on a tour before we got to go through the town. So we're all like, "Oh shit!"
Dude, I've heard they do that. You're the second
pile of shoes.
You're the second person I've heard say something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder if they tell all the commanders they have to do this.
I don't know when you were in, but this guy I work with, he was in like in the 90s though. And he was telling me that when they went to Germany, before they brought them out, they made them go to like some kind of encampment or something. Dang, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's so wild.
Dude, well, if I remember right, because you take the train there.
I remember.
If I remember right, like Dachau's like right there. So it's like, if you're getting off at like, basically the gates for the tour anyway, like you may as well. I might be misremembering that, but I remember like getting right off the train and then be like, "By the way, we're going to go do this." And then like we all get out and we're just bummed as shit.
Another story about Germany that's cool is have you ever Jake heard about Pat McNamara?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard him talk about his he talks about his time when he was in what's it called? Is it called Detachment Alpha or something? Yeah. When they were the stay behind force in Germany during like the Cold War. Do you know about this?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I think it's called Detachment Alpha or something like that.
It is.
And he talks about this story where they would like go into what would it be, East Germany, I suppose, and they would have like their patrols like chase them in their like civilian vehicles so that they could like make notes of like the max speeds and things of that, of all the Russians vehicles and things like that.
That's
or East Germans or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool story. I don't know, I don't see why he'd make it up, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, he said they would like get caught on purpose and then race back to try and see like how fast each of those vehicles would go. Take pictures of them and stuff like that.
Pat Mac kind of bothers me when he talks, but he has some cool stories.
Basic dude stuff. I would love to check out like Comblock era vehicles like that, because like even with what Russia's got with like the Ladas these days, the Lada is a car from the 70s, like almost all the way through. I think it might even still have leaf spring suspension in the rear, like the craziest shit. Someone's gonna fact check me on that. Please do. Write me an email and tell me I'm retarded. But it's like how much of like the whole Russian thing was like built for the idea that this needed to start in the middle of winter by a turnip field farmer, right? And how many of those parts were like, so like 4 bolts takes off the whole component, 4 bolts takes off like the MiG-29s got vents on the intakes with the idea that you would have to take it off in a potato farm, right? And that design philosophy goes all the way down the Comblock stuff,
I think it's cool. I guess it doesn't really work because we just blow it up so good, but it's pretty cool that like I like the utility that I perceive that they built into their equipment. I'm not sure if it's true or not.
I think that's like the US has a hand crank and access for the starter. So if your starter goes, you can still just hand crank it to turn it.
That's what I was thinking about too, about the US with the cranking starter. I always thought that was very interesting.
I'm tapped into your frequency, man.
We have the same brain.
A lot of their like sensors and a lot of their like radio equipment they had sort of like a cultural thing where they didn't really just adopt the capacitor and the transistor when they first got big. So much of like Russian infrastructure still runs on tubes. And that's why, like, if you want tubes for things like old hi-fi radios or guitar amps, so like JJ's and Sovtech and all those guys are like all Russian based because like
you can buy Nixie tubes from Russia still.
Yeah, it's like amazing how much of that stuff is still running on tube technology over there. So it's funny. Like I never really thought about it if we're talking like this, but like Comblock stuff might be like secretly really good. And you just never know, because why would you ever want to get something with like shitty seats and like a 80 horsepower 4-banger imported over here,
That's
after the inevitable nuclear war, just like only Russia will have working vehicles.
Because they got
they needed to be blown up to work in the first place.
They're making their own electric fields. They
What's that giant the giant satellite in Russia?
Oh, dude, what about it? As soon as I'm able to like visit Russia, I don't know why I can't, but I want to so bad just to go to that thing.
The RT-64 radio telescope.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got the spooky vibes. The vibes
have you seen it?
Good. I've seen photos of it. Yeah, but like the vibes are just
the RT-64.
Like, it looks like perfectly patinaed, like it would have lore behind it.
Well, it's cool because it was made for. Like it was, so like the Russians were like the first people to send these. I don't know. I just watched that Sam Hyde video about the flat Earth, so I'm like still have like all that stuff about space not being real in my head. But if you believe in space, the Russians were the first people to send these satellites to Venus and Mars.
Yeah,
and they sent landers, and we have pictures from the 80s from like Venus, the surface of Venus and Mars, which is super cool if you believe in that sort of thing. But they needed like this giant satellite to talk to these rovers. And so they started building them, and the missions were in the 70s, and they didn't finish the satellite till the 90s. So by then the missions were over. And so right now I'm trying to write like a story for ASOG about, for the Russian counterpart, Is it Bogatir? Is that how you say it? Trying to write a story for them based around this satellite and some spooky stuff coming through, maybe. But
I'm being so mad that you build that to try to get all these images, and by that time they've launched both the Voyager space.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what's interesting too, because when I was in high school, one of my BS classes was an astronomy class, and so our teacher was telling us that if you believe in space, that the Soviets had launched a satellite to Venus, and I can't remember like the order that this occurred, but basically it landed and was instantly just fried up. And so they created another one to send it there, and then it landed and it was immediately just destroyed by acid. And then they're like, okay, so they make another one, and that can withstand the heat and the acid, the acidity, and it lands and it's just crushed by like atmospheric pressure, and then they just kind of gave up. But
but they got a picture.
Yeah. I've never like fact checked this to try to figure out, all that stuff, and then see what all of the perpetually online people that live in their basement have to say about space. Compare with that and see, like, I don't know.
there's a picture I'm looking at. I just typed in Venus rover landing, and I'm using DuckDuckGo. And what's funny is there is the picture, so they say, from Venus, and in front of the Russian lander there's a bombed out carcass of another lander, and it's got a swastika on it. It's so funny.
Yeah, so that one lasted 110 minutes.
I do miss kind of having that wonderment about space I had when I was younger. Not that I don't care about it now. It's just that, like, back then I just thought it was the most fascinating thing ever.
My whole thing with space is, like, let's say that they find, like, I don't know. I mean, I've read this before, or it's like some article headline where it's like some moon of some planet in a different solar system can, like, rain diamonds. And it's like, okay, and then what? Like, who cares? What are you going to do with that information? How much money?
I know.
And like, obviously part of it is understanding, how expansive and how crazy the entire universe is, and just knowing. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, instead you could, bring like tactical Mercedes G-Wagons to the US.
Perhaps part of maturing is moving through space into deep sea documentaries and being like, holy shit.
Dude,
and
the ocean
eventually we all end up on Ken Burns' Civil War in our 80s. It's like a path.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's true.
There was one time where my wife and I went, it was right before our daughter was born. We went on like a baby moon. So we drove to the other side of the state, and so we're driving in my Outback, and she's, like heavily pregnant. So immediately she's like, all right, I'm going to go to sleep because we have like a 3 or 4 hour drive. And I was like, perfect. So I put on this Soviet-Afghan war documentary and just started listening to it.
The best.
And then eventually we get to the point where she wakes up and she's just like, what the hell are we listening to? And I was like, yeah, that's Soviet-Afghan war. So
I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
Like, I don't know what it is about that, like the fascination. Like, what is that fascination with space? That's like the Reddit sort of like like they follow like the James Webb Telescope Twitter. You know what I mean by that?
Like, people that are the wonder of how big the universe is, and I think a lot of it comes down to not knowing why, and not knowing like what the reasoning for everything is.
I think there's a lot of nostalgia because like space stuff feels like scholastic book fare,
and
right?
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when Phantom Menace came out. That was sick.
The double lightsaber in the theater for the first time.
Dude, I don't know why, but Star Wars had no effect on me whatsoever.
Yeah, you seem like
as a child. Yeah.
I remember when that movie came out, I was like 11, watching it in theaters. Like, damn, people are talking a lot. Just like, it's like conversations and then 2 lightsaber battles. And I remember coming out of that movie like, that's not what I thought this was going to be.
Yeah.
My parents were stoked on it.
I remember my dad had brought The Phantom Menace home one day from Blockbuster, and I was like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I watched the movies when I was a kid, so like these new ones are coming out." We watched it, and I was like, "This is life changing." And then the second one came out, and I saw it in theaters, and the third one came out, and I saw it in theaters, and I was just like, I was super into Star Wars as a kid.
There was one I watched. I watched all those new ones, like whatever the new ones when we were kids, and I had all the Lego sets and like that's like all I like cared about at the time. But like I don't care about it as an adult. But what I mean is, I watched this old Star Wars. I don't remember what it was because I only watched it the one time. But they're like in a snow planet and they're having this sick battle.
Yeah,
that was a cool one. Was that when the enemy strikes back or something like that?
Bro.
That's like one of the best. I think that the best Star Wars.
That was a hard like scene with the snow dudes.
AT.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when he has to cut open his little fucked up horse thing to sleep in it.
Yeah, he sleeps in it like the
Hugh
Revenant.
Glass.
Yep, Hugh Glass, exactly.
Yeah,
dude, I have
what kind of car do you think Hugh Glass would have driven? Please don't say a Nissan Altima with blown out speakers.
You know, I will wheel back to the topic you were talking about your kids. That's the third point that I had written down just to talk about. Is like
Hugh Glass,
you have to reconcile.
Nissan Altima.
Well, you got to reconcile this fucking build back to your regular life. That's kind of another reason why I don't like small trucks. Is like the amount of times I see like people strap kids in them, right? And it's like the rear facer. And I think to myself when Dad gets in the car, like that seat's too far forward for you to be comfortable. There's no way that's where.
Oh yeah, even in the Jeep, it's like too. If you have to rear face your kids, it kind of sucks. It sucks for them too.
Yeah, at least with the Jeep, it's kind of tall, like the cab, but like with the Tacomas, it's such a short. It's like a sedan on tires. Like so, like I don't know how you would sit so close if you can't like pick your knees up.
Yeah,
or maybe I'm just saying that from being tall, but
no,
it always seems like cars to me.
I'm like an inch or two shorter than you, and I remember when I was driving around a couple of Frontiers for a couple months, I was like, why is I like got the seat almost all the way back, and like, why are my knees almost touching the dash? It shouldn't be like this. I think therefore to get that second row in there, they can only have seat rails that are so long and still make it work. And that's why like the crew cab is like really taken over like the truck culture of America. Is like you could actually put like a human size like being in the back there, and like nobody is so scrunched up there having a terrible time. Like I had a Ranger that had those little like those like fold downs, in the extended cab behind the side. And it's like wow, yeah, dude. It's like how far we've come from that. Where it's like, why even pull that seat down? Just sit on the floor in the back if you're gonna have your feet facing the center anyway.
What's the cab called where it's like it's not a full size back seat? It's like it's like a full. It has a door. It has 4 doors, but it's like a smaller. It's like what I have, Tyler, on my Silverado.
It's like an extended cab.
Cab. So
extended cab, yeah.
We have extended cabs on. We have Tundras at work, 2020 Tundras, and then we have a 06 Tundra. That how many miles does it have on it that I sent you the other day? Like 470,000 miles or something like that.
Hell yeah.
So
you got that 2UZ before they did the variable valve in that thing. That thing that motor's been to 1 million miles. That decommitted twice. It's amazing.
Yeah, the truck is pretty cool. The old one, but the new one, like they're like, dude, like I can't even fit. Like, is me the guy I work with, and then we all of our equipment, like all of our instruments and stuff, we are in Pelican cases, not like huge ones, like normal size Pelican cases, I guess you'd say.
Sure.
Like a suitcase size, and we can't even fit like 2 in the back seat of this Tundra. Like I have to like do like Tetris to figure out how to carry Pelican cases back there. I don't know. I feel like trucks are like simultaneously huge, and also there's not enough room in them.
Yeah, a lot of that has come down. This is why I say buy old shit and keep it nice. So like so much of what goes into like side impact safety rating is not only the bracing and the pillars, but like the bracing they have in the doors now, and it takes a lot. And then if you're filling airbags in there, it takes quite a lot. The window motor systems and the tracks that they have now for that are a little bit wider, also for those reasons. And a lot of that is like they just seem larger because the belt line. So like if you look at the side of a car, right, you're going to see like where it seems to come down at an angle from the window, and then it goes straight up and down by the door, right? Like every car's got it, right? And so it's like that little like contour line that seems like to cut across the car. If you look at cars from the 90s, that contour line's like damn near halfway down.
Right.
The door. But if you look at vehicles, and you probably see it on the Tundra when you go to work next, the thing is like damn near right under the window, and it's bloated out to make so much more room for the bracing and the electronics and the airbags and so forth that you need in those. And likewise, it's like in order to make the car look like it's supposed to look, it's made like the hood's taller. Like so many SUVs now have like clamshell hoods where it's like it like overlaps over the fender. Like a lot of the Porsches and Audis do that now.
Right.
But like you see it on a truck, like the fenders are so tall, and it's like, why does the 2025 Silverado look so fucking weird? And you realize like, oh, there's so much more vertical space on the front of this grille that they have to put shit on that they didn't have to 10 years ago because they kept making the belt line of these cars taller to fit all the extra, bells, whistles, safety stuff, airbags, what have you in there. So
that's why I like the old trucks felt bigger, I guess, even though they were probably smaller, is because they were just thinner. So like you had more room inside.
Yeah.
Well, one of the big reasons why trucks have been getting so much bigger is because the government mandates started putting emissions controls on vehicles based on their size. And so the automotive companies figured that they could just make bigger vehicles and then not have to adhere to the same emissions, standards and stuff. And same thing with like fuel efficiency and a bunch of other stuff. Like I find it very hard to believe that they can't come up with like a V8 or something that can get 30 miles to the gallon at this point. Like engine,
they wouldn't have to, because to get into it, because I followed a lot of the cafe standard stuff for the last few years because it was like pertinent to my job. And what they did with the cafe standards that changed in 2025 and a lot of engine design went with it, is that it wasn't fuel economy standards as a target by like the chassis anymore. It was across the fleet. And so you saw like Ford come out with like a hybrid Escape, a hybrid Edge, like a hybrid Expedition, a hybrid everything, and then all these other C-Maxes.
Well, they did that to
little electric cars and this and that.
That's also why they cut a lot of the cars, to not waste the emissions on cars, because they're not really big sellers.
Right. And so if you got all these other ones that are getting 50, 60 miles a gallon, the idea is by 2025, your entire range average across had to be over 35 miles to the gallon. And so, because they're in the industry of selling. So what really sells a truck? Is it really fuel economy? If you're buying a V8 1500, have you not already sort of like come to the piece of the idea that like I'm driving a gas guzzler, right? Like you don't want it to be like
that would be a big factor though. Like, can you imagine if you could get like an F-150 with a Coyote 5.0 in it, and you could get 30 miles to the gallon with it? Like, it would be unbeatable.
The Baby Max.
You'd have to really kind of. So a lot of the gas mileage that's achieved out of engines that big with that sort of displacement isn't so much the engine itself, but the transmission. So like the 10-speed transmissions mated to the Coyote do a little bit better than like the trims that'll have like the 6-speed, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got other trucks that try to do that, but it's like the more you try to make a truck like that fuel efficient, the more you kind of get away from what the hell did we even design this thing for in the first place, right? Like it's like we're trying to do like.
Oh, is that like? Yeah. I feel like if companies had enough of a reason to invest in making engines that are bigger and more powerful and capable of towing and capable of carrying a lot of stuff, also be able to get good fuel efficiency, I think they would. But because they really don't have to, and the solution to most of the problems is like just make the truck bigger Like that's kind of what they're doing because it's a lot easier. It requires a lot less work, a lot less testing, and at the same time, a lot of at least with the big three, all three of them have their kind of flagship V8s and V6s and stuff that they're using that are tested. Like you have the Coyote 5.0 and then the various Hemis, and then like what is it, the LT 51 or what's the engine that Chevy uses?
The 5.3. I forget. They've got different names for different versions, but a lot of it has to do with the emissions as well. Because like anytime you choke up the back end of the motor, it's going to be less efficient.
Yeah,
and so you're fighting a lot of compounding variables. Like I mean, there were a ton of cars before like emissions got where it was in the 90s, where like the Germans had inline sixes that were sporty engines that were getting like 25. Damn near 30 in a bunch of it. That's why that ML320 is so good, man. Back when Germany was making inline sixes, that was the golden era.
Dude, that was such a fine vehicle. I debate about buying another one, honestly.
Dude, they're surprisingly nice. Like, I should hate that vehicle knowing what I know about cars, but I don't, man. I've always kind of liked the look of those things, too.
Yeah, what does that mean? That was like so ominous, though.
I don't know.
What did you mean by that?
It's old Mercedes and having their electronics still work were like oil and water.
Oh yeah, my radio just stopped working.
Yeah,
all the electronics slowly died in that truck.
Yeah,
I didn't have Tyler, I drove that truck without a means to listen to music for like 4.5 years.
Is that why you got so good at singing?
I actually did, but no, that's why I got so good at getting out of touch with music.
I remember when toward the end of me having my Ranger, because my first vehicle was a 2000 Ford Ranger that my dad had bought brand new in 2000, and it was like standard cab, 4-cylinder. The only upgrades that he had gotten were a CD player and air conditioning. And toward the end of me having it, there was a point where the speedometer wouldn't kick on until you hit like 40 miles an hour, and then it would just turn on and go all the way up to 40. So if you were driving through a residential or anywhere else, you really had no idea how fast you're actually going. Which
awesome.
It also didn't have like an RPM gauge. So like I learned how to drive it because it was a manual, just going solely off of the sound and all that stuff, which really isn't that hard. But
yeah,
it also sucks because like now I'm teaching my wife how to drive my Jeep, and I'm like, yeah, just to get decent gas mileage and efficiency and like less wear and tear, just shift when you hit between like 2,500 to 3,000 RPMs and just try to keep it in there. But then when I was getting taught, my dad was like, just listen to it. If it sounds like it's yelling too loud, just shift. Like, hey.
My first manual didn't have attack either, man. It did the same thing. It's like just shift when the anxiety builds to the point you can't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
Basically.
I feel like my motorcycles should translate to cars. Like I feel like I should be able to drive a manual transmission vehicle, but I feel like I don't know. I tried once and it didn't go well, but I could ride a motorcycle just fine. And I had a 79 Honda, so it didn't have a tack on it. But for some reason, I don't know why with trucks or with cars, I'm just I don't understand how they you know what I mean?
Get Gino on next time. I don't know shit about bikes, but he rides bikes.
No, I mean you'd assume that it would be I don't know.
Isn't it pretty much
it would translate?
Your hands and your feet are switched.
Yeah, your clutch is in your hand. You know what I mean? But anyway, so Jake, can we recap this little list that you made so far? What points have we covered already?
Yeah. This is a good time because I was thinking that I kind of winded down.
I was losing the plot a minute.
But really, it's my first point is that boring is better in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in the same way that it's really easy to analogize to gun shit, right? So it's some dude's got a 16-inch BCM. He's got an 8-point Comp 2 on there that he got off eBay, right? He's got a Streamlight light. And what's wrong with that? Nothing in the world is wrong with that. You go train your ass off with that. But you look at Instagram and dudes got Knights, they got ATACers on there, right? They got this and that. And then people get all spun up about the idea, oh, I need this or I need that. But it's no, what you really need is the car equivalent of having that spare BCG, right? The car equivalent of just having a shit ton of mags, the car equivalent of, all of the spares that you need. So boring is better. To get the best tires you could possibly afford. This is going to be the single best upgrade you'll ever make.
Like the quality of life improvements, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And then if you're going to be in places where it's like, hey man, it's always going to be really hot, like maybe you upgrade your radiator. Hey man, it's always going to be cold. Okay, maybe I get a block warmer, right? So when you're starting your engine, especially if it's a diesel, you're not starting on such the tolerances for the metals in there, like warp.
You have to light a fire underneath your car.
It doesn't sound like someone trying
they haven't expanded so much you're scraping your fucking piston rings, right? So those kind of things.
Yeah.
The items that are going to allow you to keep going are always going to be better than the items that just look good. Now, listen, man, you got all the bases covered. You start throwing on lights, the nice to have items like jackeries and power banks, all that shit in the back. Go for it, right? But to the next point, cost versus return. You still got to live in this thing every single day, right? So if it's at the point where dude, I love my bed organizer. I got all this stuff. I got my gun kit in the back. I got my cooking kit in the back. I got my sleeping this. I got my fishing gear back there. Hey, dude, awesome. But you got a truck. Can you help me move next week? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, no, I can't because my bed is a hobby organizer. It's not a truck anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Valid.
And really, the point that all the ISG we're really big into is just buy old shit and keep it nice, right? It's hard. I see this all the time with my day gig, man. You get cars that are new enough to the point where the diag tools needed are expensive in and of themselves. Sensors are killing whole drive lines, in a way that it's like if a speed sensor goes out in my old ass 4Runner, it's like no problem. It throws a couple of lights, but it'll damn near it'll brick your traction control, your ABS, all this other stuff, and newer cars to the point where it'll start flashing lights at you, go to the dealer, especially in the British and the Swedish stuff these days. They're the worst with it. So yeah, man, it's fun, it's exciting, but just like gun shit, man. Yes, you can have all the coolest, nicest shit, but if your groups suck, kind of what's the point, right? And then I'm sure you guys have hammered this on this podcast a million times, dude. Just go get training somewhere, because being able to wheel a shitty ride really good is way cooler than getting stuck in a really expensive ride, right? If somebody's got a 99 RAV4 and they rip that fucker up a hill, people are hooting and hollering. And if you've got a $70,000 Rubicon build and you're afraid to get it up there because you're like, oh my God, what'll happen if this thing turns over? What's the point of that $80,000 you spent, right? To stand next to that thing out there in the fucking desert. So get old shit, keep it nice, keep it boring for the most part, unless you're fucking ready to go for it. And then remember that you got to live with the fucker. And that's my general advice from a guy who's, I guess, does this professionally. I'll call that professional advice.
Well, something that's funny is that, in the gun world, because that's, what I'm familiar with, is that, we'll see pictures of guys' rifle builds and kit setups and all that stuff. And there's always critiques that can be made of, a lot of people's stuff. There's kind of the, the baseline where somebody will post a picture of their kit or rifle or whatever, and you go, okay, that's a good utilitarian kit, that's good. That's, I can understand why everything is there. I can understand why it's set up that way. It's not too much. It's not too bulky. It's not too compartmentalized. It's not too specialized in any way that is past the point of diminishing return, all that stuff. And then, like you said, a BCM 16 or 14.5 or whatever with a good optic on it and good light and all that stuff. And then you see a lot of stuff where the guys will have a 1-to-6 powered optic, and they have every 3D printed doodad on the gun, and then they have a handbag bungeed to the gun for their long range shooting that they're doing.
I've never seen that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, they see it all the time.
Sandbag bungee.
Post the picture.
I'll find it. And there's like all this stuff, and you're like, well, there's obviously like an identity crisis here. Like you saw videos of guys doing CQB, and then you saw videos of somebody talking about the next buzzword of like a general purpose build, and then you watch like a PRS video, and you're like, I'm going to try to combine all these things, and then you just have every additional thing from all these people and companies and stuff, and then the next week comes around and you have something completely different, and every single time you build it, you're like, this is it, this is the best one, and then next week it's completely different or something. So we see that all the time, and same thing with kit and like the constant like nylon worms and tinkering and stuff. But it's funny because I was watching a bunch of videos, and they were about because I was digging really deep. Like last year I had to go to a course for a couple weeks. And so I was in a hotel room, and I was just watching YouTube videos, and I was trying to figure out if a 2-wheel drive pickup truck would still be fine for like Forest Service roads and the occasional like crappy road in like winter stuff. And so I was watching all these videos of guys with like overlanding, and the origin of overlanding comes from Australia, where guys would like try to drive from one end of the country to the other, and throughout the entire middle there's nothing there, like it's just desert and very, very poor conditions, so like very inhospitable conditions, I should say. So they would pack everything in their vehicle to be self-sufficient. They would just camp out in the bush on the way there, and then they get to the other side, and it was kind of like I think it started out a necessity like most things, and then it became like a fun challenge to do, and then a whole industry started coming out around it. And then like obviously you can look at in the first Gulf War and stuff with like the Scud hunters, and even like Iraq and Afghanistan, where guys would be living out of their vehicles for weeks at a time, and that's like what overlanding is, right? But now it's like kind of a show off of like whose rig is more like who has the best combination of aftermarket things that they've put on their vehicles. And so you'll find videos where guys will be doing the same stuff in stock like early 2000s Subaru Foresters, or old SUVs or trucks or whatever. And anyway, I found these videos where this guy was complaining about how it's all just like a fashion show for the internet, and literally like the same arguments that we'll make about gun stuff and the kind of the state of like the Instagram gun world in a lot of ways. And you're like, oh man, so that's just human nature at this point. Like any hobby that somebody gets into. And Joe, you were making me laugh so hard when you were complaining about all the black powder guys.
Oh, the worst. The worst.
Oh, they were posting in your Discord recently?
No. I got into we were kind of, Jake, you had kind of mentioned this earlier, where you kind of like become 80 and get interested in the Civil War or whatever. Well, like when I turned a certain age, I just became fascinated by like the Napoleonic Wars for some reason. I have no idea why. And anyway, I ended up buying a flintlock rifle, and I know nothing about this stuff. So I'm like trying to figure out, like I bought like a repro of a rifle. Like you have to like make it. And like the people who make like the barrels for it, there's like I have to like meet this guy. He lives near me actually. They were like, yeah, you got to talk to this guy. Like you got to talk to old Jim. And then you're like trying to contact old Jim. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I get a hold of this guy? And then like another guy will be like, you can, he's been dead for 20 years, or like, and I'm like, okay, well, then how can I achieve like this, like other thing? And the guy's like, if you wish hard enough. And I'm like, dude, they're like, it's not that they're unhelpful. It's just that like, they're like 60 or 70 or 80-year-old men in like a very niche message board, and they're like they just are used to talking to like the same like group of friends. Like I guess it's similar like in our circles, but like they're older, so like everything is hilarious. So they're just like eventually they spilled the beans, and I was able to talk to the right people. But that guy who was super old, he's like, hey, listen, like you have to do that. Like you have to give me this part now, because I'm like, every day I do this job is torture. It's like I've been doing this for 60 years. So I'm actually going to a reenactment, not a reenactment, but it's like an expo. And there's reenactors are going to be there that use this specific rifle that have gone through this crazy. It's a very strange niche thing. But like, yeah, they're like some of the most, getting into black powder, some of the most unhelpful people, but they say like the funniest stuff. But yeah, I was telling Tyler my experiences.
So just miserable. Time. I don't even care.
There's been like these stuff platitudes they shared with each other.
Years. My favorite thing to do on the internet is pretend like I'm a boomer in an old forum where I'm like,
you're good at it too.
That's right. And then you have like a super long signature.
The signature is like a page long.
And it's always got to have something about Obama where it's like one big ass mistake, America. Like, and then like
you list like every vehicle you have.
And then the broken tiny pick links that just don't work. Dude, that's my
USMC 81 to 82.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen this. Dude, I picked one off of those because like I never want to talk about this shit with like my regular job. So people ask if I was like, "Oh, you were in the army?" I was like, "Yeah," and I always tell them I was like, "I got kicked out for low T," and that like kills the conversation right then and there, and I have a great time with it.
Yeah, I found it actually, Tyler. I was like, I literally like basically like copied the conversation I was having, and it was like. I said to Tyler, I was like, getting into flintlocks is a nightmare. They just talk amongst themselves about shit that happened 40 years ago. So I wrote like, where do you find this? And they like in quotes, it's just like, you can't, ! All caps, LOL, ! So then another guy like, go ask old Jim, he'll do that for you, ! And I'm like, okay, great. How do I get a hold of him? And then he writes, he died in 92, ! All caps, rip.
It's like an old European fairy tale of dealing with the Fae. Like,
these people are, And then I was saying, Tyler was saying how he can't wait to be a boomer, and I'm like, he's going to be an evil boomer because he knows everything. He just won't let you. He's not going to tell you.
Dude, gatekeeping is fun.
Like, basically gatekeeping, I guess.
So funny. It's so funny. Like, in like a friendly, like banter sort of way. When you have knowledge that somebody else needs to know, and there's not an actual reason why they need it right this second, so you just kind of pull them along for a little bit.
Yeah. Or you could be like bitter, not bitter, but like people will ask me questions, and I'm just like kind of like, like find out, you know what I mean? And like maybe they see that as like what I'm doing, but meanwhile I'm just like, I just don't have the time to like invest 30 years of my life into studying this. What did dude, there's another one, like a YouTube comment, and it was, I think I screenshotted it, all caps, I am 84 years old and still learning stuff every day or something like that. Like it was like a guy how to make cartridges, like paper cartridges. And the guy, this is an old guy, commented all caps, I am 84 years old. I have been shooting flintlock for 60 years. I am learning something new every day, !
Yeah, dude.
I love it. Like once these people die, like the guy that's going to work on my rifle, he's going to like do some stuff to the barrel. I don't know what he's going to do. Once that guy dies, that's it. And I even said that to him. I'm like, so you're like the last one. He's like, yeah, I'm the last one. So you better hurry. I was like, all right, no problem.
The worst thing used to be when I was like a junior Marine. So there's this like, I wouldn't even call it a book. It's like a short prompt, and the prompt was about like this guy who was sending letters to his friend Garcia about like how he was in Morocco or something, and how everything was weird. So we had to like learn how to do everything and stuff. And so anyway, the whole thing was called Message to Garcia. And so I'm like brand new, and one of my NCOs would be like, hey, go do this. And I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And they go, oh, Message to Garcia. And I was like, I don't even know what the fuck that means. And it turns out it just means go figure it out. And so I'm like, I remember vividly on one of my first field ops, I'm like brand new PFC at my unit, and all of my NCOs are like grizzled Fallujah vets, and just like masters of hazing and like dumb, stupid tricks, and like oh, go find this. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not going to fall for the blinker fluid or the left-handed hammer, but you're asking me to go up to like Staff Sergeant so-and-so and find the prick E6, and then he's going to make me pick up like rocks.
Oh, man.
And so like, yeah, they'd be like, oh, like go over there and set this thing up. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And then I'd be like, can you give me some more explanation of what I'm looking for? And they'd just be like sitting there chain smoking cigarettes in a Humvee because it's winter time and they want the heat on. And they'd be like, oh, message to Garcia. Like, I don't know what the fuck that even means. And then I'm just like wandering around aimlessly. So that was not fun.
There's character development. I did that whenever I got new guys in the platoon. And I wouldn't send them on like bullshit missions. Like I'd literally like, hey, I either need this from like supply, like give them real things. And before they go, if they were new, I'd be like, hey, this is just so you know, I want you to figure this out. And if you can't, that's fine. But when you come back, I'm going to know whether or not you're the kind of person that figures shit out or not. So good luck. And like more often than not, I found out that it came back figured out. And then I would tell them like, hey, this sets the precedent now that I can expect you to figure shit out. You got any problems with that? Like, no, Sergeant. I'm like, great. And that was like one of the single best things I started doing when I got new people. Is like setting the precedent from the get-go. Hey, guess what? I've just learned you're not actually that retarded. So don't give me the excuse in the future. Man.
I did kind of like, I hated that about like learning my trade. Older guys were always like joking with me or whatever, like figure it out or like hazing you or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then now that I'm like have guys under me, I do hate to have to explain things like while you're trying to do your own job, and then you're like, and you feel bad for that guy, and you're just like, yeah, but I figured it out, and then you just realize you're becoming like the same guy. Like I realized I'm the old crew chief that's like just like a dick, and this kid's gonna go home and just be like, why is this guy so miserable? But really, in reality, I'm not thinking about it at all, and I just want him to like grow into his career, I think and like figure it out for himself.
Where guys have like a learned helplessness, where like, they've just been handed information with no resistance for way too long, so they've gotten to the point, and especially with the internet, you're like just the other day, I was helping a buddy of mine with putting in some stairs on the back of his house, and we're like doing the math, and it's like, okay, like 38.86 for whatever this is supposed to be, and I'm like, okay, so what's that in fraction? I just Google it. I'm like, what's 38.86 in fraction to the nearest 1/16th or something, and then it just tells you the answer. So you don't actually need to do any work anymore. And
dude, that was sorry, go ahead.
That's like guys that grow up with that convenience, guys that don't have any understanding or memory of what life was like before smartphones. They have this inability to do a lot of things on their own sometimes. And so teaching them that like sometimes you won't have the resource to tell you everything exactly all the time. So you just need to kind of tinker with things and screw it up and figure it out is like a very important lesson for a lot of younger guys to learn.
Joe, to your point, man, it's one of the best parts when I started having, I got to the point where I started having other NCOs under me, is the questions you started getting were so much, they were less frequent and they were so much more qualified that the conversations got to be to a higher point. It's like, hey, how do I address this? Or like, I haven't been through this kind of counseling before. Like, what do I do? Right. And it was like, how do I write it? And you give them a template. But it's like conversations about how to talk to another person. Like everyone talks about E4 is the best in the Army, but once I got my rocker, like things started getting way more interesting because like I was in with the talk, so I got to see the higher level stuff, and then I didn't have like E2 tugging in my shirt sleeve for the smallest shit.
Right.
So it was and that's probably when I had the most fun, is when I got my BAS and I was just running that thing, man. Because it's the conversations change so developmentally that, well, and granted, like when you're dealing with medics, they got to have a certain GT score. They're just not that retarded, and everyone's known to retarded.
You're starting with like a more smarter bunch, I guess.
Yeah, and, I'm in the Guard, so all these kids are in college anyway, and they're just doing it for college. So I'm at dealing with the common I just joined because I had nothing else to do. Like I was in an infantry battalion, but I was in the HHQ. I'm dealing with my medics. And that was the nicest part of getting to the hey, figure it out is when you're a 6 talking to a 5. It's the figure it out is I'm going to set you on this and come back and let me know what you found out with it. And it got to be conversations that were paragraphs on a discovery of leadership, not hey, Sergeant so-and-so told me it's actually in another office. And you're well, why did you come back to me? Why didn't you just go to that other office? Those conversations stop and things get suddenly so much better from there.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Yeah. There's so much stuff where once you, those memes where it'll be the utopia and it'll be the world if libertarians didn't exist or something. The best is the world when you no longer actually have juniors under you. Even because in the Marine Corps, all E4s are NCOs, right? Your automatic promotions into E3. So if there's a Marine that's an E4, he's an NCO and he should be at least a little bit better than the rest of the bunch around him. But even if the most junior guy is a corporal, you're well, at least he's presumably proven himself enough at this point to not be an absolute idiot. And there's always exceptions to that, but that's the thing that's nice is that now that I'm in the fires world, everyone that gets there pretty much is sort of there because they want to be there. And, they're mature enough to understand the consequences of actions and things like that. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
You said that once. You said that once. I remember when you kind of got led into the inner sanctum. You kind of said that you felt that way. Remember you said you were walked into that room with all those dudes, and then they were get out of here, and then they were wait, come back.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
It's they didn't think you belonged there. So you tell it.
Well, yeah, because so it's it was mostly the staff, the I&I for our unit, the active duty guys, and so I was just looking around for somebody to hang out with because I generally have nothing to do on drill weekends if we aren't going to the field or prepping to go to the field or there's not people that need to get a class on something, and so I'll just kind of wander. And I open up the door to the comm shop and I hear them go, hey, go away. And I go to close it. And then they're wait. And I open the door. And this is a couple months ago. I had been selected for E6, but just hadn't been pinned yet. And they're you're a staff sergeant now, right? I'm technically, yeah. Come back. And I go, okay. And I walk in, they go, welcome to the inner circle. And it's our ops chief and all the chiefs from our unit that are cool. And we're all just hanging out, and I mean, they're just telling me deep internal lore of what goes on, and why things are screwed up from certain people and other people. And they're just talking about stuff. And even at one point, the door knocked, and this other dude came in who he'd been a staff sergeant for a couple of years, but he's kind of a dweeb. He's kind of the narc. And they were just oh, go away. We're having a meeting in here. We're just sitting in there and just BSing with each other.
So I feel we've got a good kind of we've got a good yap sesh on kind of what's important and what's not, kind of with vehicles and things like this. But
yeah,
I don't personally. I know of one place for sure in West Virginia where you can train vehicle stuff, but I don't really know what that training entails. I just know that it's available. It's a federal training site. I think it's open to civilians. But are you guys working on that sort of stuff, on the training side?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I've done a little bit of the recovery training, military side. A lot of what I've had in terms of professional instructions actually been for performance driving. That's really just one, because I'm really interested in it, so I wanted to chase that. But I would say that even if you're primarily just worried about daily driving and overland stuff, still try to go out and get a performance driving course. And Hooked on Driving, their guys are really good for that because some of them will provide cars, and they tailor instruction to your level. Because once you behaving at the edge of the limit of your tires is really different than general driving. And the way to really get practice at that is to go to a track or performance drive, because like people tell you, like weaving in on traffic in the interstate and doing drag pulls is nothing like real performance driving. But all of that being at the edge of the grip, how to handle the oversteer, how to handle the understeer will translate to the road's wet, right? Or like it's snowy out. But it's funny you mentioned that. I think the boys and I were trying to set up to go to the AS3 driving school here pretty soon. And we're going to write a review on that. And that's mostly focused around like, they do a lot of performance driving and stuff, but it's really based around like close protection details. So I think like a lot of EP guys, I don't know if like Secret Service style guys go there, but we're going to do a course pretty similar to that.
Where is that? Or do they just come out wherever? Do they go to like whatever track, or is it a facility that they have?
There's one in Florida that I think that we're going to go on. There was another school that's something like that in Dallas. We were trying to figure out which of the two.
They have some. Yeah, they have professional driving courses, counter ambush. Lots of. Yeah, so this was sort of like kind of what I was just mentioning, and it's actually it's about the same price as well. I forget the name, but yeah, I've heard this before that like. Especially with cars, is like it's like unlocking like a skill tree that like you didn't have before. You have to like go all the way to the edge of your like of being almost out of control, and then you rank up, and then you can like explore this whole other area that you never would have had like any inclination of, because you never kind of went out to that outer edge that you were talking about. So I think, like you said, like even if it's not tactical, if you're really interested in, we do so much driving, honestly, as a culture. So I think if you're in it's something that we don't talk about a lot in the preparedness kind of area, sphere, whatever, is driving. And I'm definitely interested to hear, or I'm probably going to end up subscribing to your guys' Patreon. I just didn't really know about it.
Same.
Because I want to be able to get a kind of a little bit more of it in the weeds about this stuff on the training side, and perhaps maybe when you guys are done with that and you've collected your thoughts, perhaps we could have this conversation again.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be super into that. And then we've done some other vehicle training. So if you want to talk about like recoveries, extractions, and general convoy ops, we've all done trainings on those as well. We could bring that in. I hope you guys dig the Patreon. We do one like once a week. Like Gino's got one coming out this Friday on like the basics for like surveillance detection routes.
Oh, cool.
We've got like our handgun certification test that we post on there. I'm always writing some shit about cars that pisses off small truck guys. So if you hate me and you own a Tacoma, feel free to shell us some money so you can come hate me in person as close as possible. But yeah, man, we'll do that course. I'll do an AR maybe, and then I'll try to wheel some of the other guys in here, because Gino knows the bike side of things really well. In fact, he's a dealer for E-Ride, which is like one of the big electric dirt bike ones that's on there. And he's got like mount systems for like your GPS nod system. He's rolling around his integrally suppressed MP5 with that beast.
Yeah, of course.
He's way cooler than me, so I'll get him out of here next time.
And I had one question. So like, if you're not an overland guy, if you're just like a regular dude and you have like, I don't know, like me, like you just have like a full size pickup, or you have like a late model SUV or something like that, say like an old Explorer or like a whatever, like an old 4Runner or something like that. Yeah. What's like something like, I don't know, like I have like a fire extinguisher in my truck because I came up on a car fire once that was really freaked me out, and I'll have like some cutting tools in the bed or something like that. But like recovery wise, like what's something that like a layman could like pack and be reasonably like able to affect some sort of helping yourself or others, maybe just like with a like a kind of like a not such an extensive level of training or equipment needed.
Yeah, so say we're going with like rigs that aren't going to have winches and stuff like that. The fire extinguisher is awesome. I've shadowed ambulances for stuff, my CUs and stuff like that. And the amount of car crashes that have that as an aspect is not uncommon.
Mhm.
I would say, if even just for your own car, or even just for like your camping purposes, have that around. I usually am always a big fan of having a tow strap in there and then a shock cord, or some people call it kinetic rope. It's useful for different things. If you live where it snows, dude, I use the kinetic rope for all sorts of stuff. Like sometimes you just need that snap of energy to overcome, like, there's the resistance that deep snow gives. And then once you get that momentum going, and like most of you guys drive in the snow, it's like this. Once you get the momentum going, it's easier to keep going. So I'm really big on that.
What's that called?
So kinetic rope,
Kinetic rope. And that's meant to like bounce, like pulse, like yank someone like with a little bounce in it, basically.
Yeah, exactly right. So like you go into a ditch and there's some snow, right? And just pulling out because there's not enough traction isn't there. So the idea is like you take out a little bit of slack and then the other car can kind of gun it a little bit, put all that kinetic energy in the rope, and then the rebound from the rope is really what pulls you out of the ditch. So if you need to overcome some initial hump, right? And like I said, snow is where I've used it the most often there. Gino's really big on traction boards if you live where it's sandy. I don't deal with a lot of sand. I feel like I rarely ever use my traction boards. But if you live where it's sandy, get the traction boards. But tow rope, kinetic rope, and then if you need a traction board, get the traction board, and then your safety items. So like you said, the fire extinguisher. Get as much medical gear in there as you feel like you could pack in there for what your training is. If you don't have Stop the Bleed, it's fucking free. So do that.
Yeah, at least that.
And I would say I keep spare CPR masks around everywhere because you'd be surprised how much of that will coincide. Many car crashes happen because old people just have cardiac emergencies. It's nothing to do with the road in and of itself. And if you do CPR correct enough for long enough, there will be oral discharge. So yeah, CPR, stop the bleed, stop a fire, and then have the right ropes. And that's going to cover. If you live in like you guys live in like Michigan, like you said, I'm from Wisconsin. Like everybody who had a truck just had ropes in the back of the truck, kind of at all times. It was just like a reality of living there. And if you know where it's like really bad and you're going to need chains aren't a bad thing to have. But I feel like if you're in the area where you're going to need them, like you probably already know, and you probably already got them. That said, to what we were talking about, like the BCM and all this stuff. Tyler's talking about like took that Outback everywhere. I see CRVs, RAV4s on the roads doing all sorts of stuff. The right tires and a little bit of clearance is going to do 90% of the work for you until you start getting to like you want to do actually technical trails. Once you get at that point, you start looking at, real body on frame and different suspensions and stuff like that. But, I had a 07 RAV4 with a little four banger that when I first got to Colorado, I did irresponsible, heinous shit in. And it took it. I loved that car, man, before it got stolen. Fucking hello, Denver, But, don't feel like you need to go out and spend a bunch. Get that thing reliable so that way you can drive it every single day. Don't make it so precious that you don't want to drive it. And tires.
Tires. Valid.
Sweet.
Yeah, I need to get new tires.
Tyler, you probably knew all that stuff already about the ropes and things like that living up there, but I honestly, and owning a Jeep, I suppose, but I'm kind of just new to all that because I was always kind of lived in the suburbs, so I never really, we just dealt with snow.
No, I have toe straps and I have like a come along and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like you have a better grip on that stuff really than I have, but
I mean, really,
for the layman, that's good info.
In my Jeep, I don't really have probably as much as I should. Like I keep my medical bag stuffed under because the back seat is just like a bench. So I keep that there, and then I keep an e-tool in there. Usually all winter I'll have the traction mats in the trunk, just because of all the snow and everything. I've helped like other people I've seen stuck with them.
Yeah.
But usually around like the rest of the year, I really don't keep them in there much. And then I have like jumper cables and some toe straps and
Yeah. I mean, if you get into it, you can have other stuff because I got a duffel bag in mine that's got like an air compressor that will like hook up to my battery.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've got a little jump pack that I charge in the house. Like if your battery goes dead, you could jump off of it. I got like a torque wrench in there, so that way if I swap my tires around, like I know that it's like proper torqued.
Yeah,
it just makes me feel better.
I have a torque wrench in mine too. I need to get like a better jack. Actually, I've seen like I want to get like a better jack for the back, and then just cover it up, like kind of try to tuck it behind the tire and then cover it so it's not noticeable. But
yeah, you get those like AC Delco, like the 4 tons, pretty cheap at like O'Reilly's or whatever, and those will fit back there. Now you're gonna have to like find a way to get the 2x4s in there, old style, so don't sink in that you got the height for it. But yeah,
once you guys do your thing at that course, I definitely want to hear about it because I mean, it's just I don't know, it's just cool to like have that capability where you could kind of get out of like some sticky situations and know more about like, like kind of like explore the boundaries of what you could do with a vehicle. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm sure there's definitely more to this conversation down the road.
Yeah, won't be a stranger. Yeah, we'll get back with you guys.
Yeah, great talking to you, man.
Coming on and
Yeah, you two guys.
sharing with the autism.
Yeah. All right. Good night, fellas.